back to the show. That's George, also known as Rupert. I'm Isaiah, also known as Pinchy. Our main goal here is to get you off the spinning squirrel wheel of doom and instead help you to focus on what is important, and also to aim ourselves to the truth, and also to aim ourselves to what is important. So with that goal in mind, good morning. How's it going?
Good morning. And to provide future winning lottery numbers.
What are those?
In the future, number 11 is going to be a winning lottery number. Write it down.
Wow,
I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Only
Tomorrow
11?
I'll have another one.
Do they ever have one number?
I'm not
lotteries?
even certain. I think it's 0 through 99, but I'm not even positive
So,
what the numbers
are they going to do one? They're going to start changing the rules in the future?
I have no idea. I don't even know how to play.
You don't know how to play? It's pretty easy. Buy a lottery ticket, find the number.
And win? And win?
Well, typically it's and lose, but
I only win at the coin change machine at the laundromat. It kicks out quarters to me. I really don't lose. It's the only bet I really don't lose at. I put $20 in, I get $20 out. It's a lot of fun though. So
you're a winner.
I'm a winner. So
yeah. So we're not talking about the lottery today, which might be fun.
Yeah, except number 11 in the future. Everyone remember that. Okay.
Yeah. Well, too bad we can't make an episode again, a number 11 again, and then that would be the winning lottery video. Yeah, I know I'm going.
Well, in the movie Back to the Future, I don't know if you remember, but I don't know if it was like Back to the Future 25 or which one it was, but Biff got a hold of the future winnings for all the sports, so he became really wealthy, and in the future he was a bad Biff. So, and it was kind of funny. So I actually have the winning lottery numbers from the future
in your mind. Nobody can find it.
Okay.
All right. So there has been something that has been on my mind that has recently been brought up, and I don't know how much detail you want me to go into, because there is some important detail that I would leave out if I don't specify. So I don't know.
Feel free. You have the stage.
Okay. Well, because I think part of it is...
That's enough. I'm just kidding.
Part of it is really necessary to do, and I don't really feel bad about it because it was publicly said. So, recently, the past couple of months, I've been listening to Dennis Prager Fireside Chat, like, a lot, every time that it comes out. And then recently I started reading, or I read the Genesis book that he published, I don't know how long ago, on...
Is it the Genesis book, or is it a commentary?
Okay. It's a commentary on Genesis. And so...
the book of Genesis. Okay.
There has been a difficulty for me of understanding Christianity versus the Jewish religion, especially considering the fact that we run into some difficulty when it comes to, well, not everyone has heard of Jesus in the past, and so can those individuals be saved? Can those individuals be, how does God save those people that, like Moses, or, like when it comes to David, people like that? And we can't answer those questions, but it seems more difficult to me, or it did at the time that I'm speaking of right now. And one of the main messages that Dennis Prager has is that the afterlife is about, or God rewards those that do the right thing, act morally, and that sounds great. And it sounded appealing to me, just simply because it's difficult for me to. It makes it simpler. It seems to me. But then I realized that the main difference between the Christian message and the Jewish message is the Jewish message is simply behavior. And even Dennis Prager says that. And the Christian message is about the heart and behavior. What I mean by that is that there's a way for our heart to be changed from being dead in sins and in our intentions and heart. But the idea is that Christ can give us a new heart, new desire, to give us a spiritual desire, not only fleshly, because we can't please God. Sure, we can do the right thing, we can do good things, but none of that, like, in the end, can save us and give us eternal life without Christ. And so you realize that, and at first, it didn't seem as significant as it does now. But part of the difficulty was also that Dennis Prager is one of my favorite people, or has been. He has been one of my favorite people. Just the way that he acts, his friendliness, the types of things that he likes to do in his life, like talk to people. He really likes to meet people, and so that's why some of that was also appealing, is because he's a Jew. He's not a Christian. So all that to say, when Dennis Prager came out talking about pornography in the Exodus series that he was doing with Jordan Peterson, or that he was on Jordan Peterson's panel at that time, him saying that the act of adultery is only a physical thing, it is not a thing that happens in the heart. That doesn't count as adultery. It's basically what he said. And I have a problem with that, because that makes it seem like pornography is okay, which is basically what he said. The only thing that he said was, does it affect your other relationships? That's what he said. And I was like, this is really a big problem. It's just more of a problem than I realized at first. He's willing to go to the logical conclusion of his beliefs. Of, if it is only behavior, physical behavior, then it doesn't matter the intention of your heart. It's only the actions that you take. I think he's mistaken about certain things about action, but I think he's mistaken in all of this, but that is, okay. At first, it's like, oh yeah, our heart changes and, all that, with Christ and all that. But the other thing is that, oh, I'm sorry, I'm kind of getting sidetracked. That is a stronger no to me of saying that pornography is okay than to say that it's behavior that matters. So I just wanted to share that story about this, is because I do think that the evidence for Christ is strong, and I think that it's irrefutable in my mind, but it's difficult at the time to consider that there are more difficulties that I find in Christianity that had to be reconciled, or I did at the time, than this behaviorist, it's just morality that matters thing. I don't know what your thoughts are on that. But that's what I wanted to start.
I'm trying to understand his point that that it's about behavior, but isn't pornography a behavior?
Sure, that's exactly one of the problems, right? But he's talking about how looking isn't really an action. It's more like just something that.
More than just looking. More than just looking, lusting, right?
Right, exactly. But that isn't lust an internal
Yeah, but
struggle?
it's not just if a beautiful woman walks by and hands you coffee, you don't cover your eyes
Right.
and look straight up and go, "Yeah, just give me the coffee. Where is the coffee?" No, you just give me the coffee and thank you. Just because you see somebody that is attractive doesn't mean that you're lusting,
Oh, exactly. I
right?
agree with that.
So but he's not saying that. He's saying something different. And then
I'm
I
opening
didn't
something up while we talk. Sorry, that's why I'm
okay,
looking over this.
I didn't watch the episode. I just kind of heard a little bit
Yeah.
about it, but uh and then Jordan Peterson kind of did he push back on it or did he ask him to clarify?
Well, it was a it was a little awkward seeming. He didn't really say that he was right, but he did talk about things on a psychological level and did not go into any of the problems that he found with that. So if he did find any, so I don't really think he really said anything. I don't
Uh,
remember. I don't remember.
okay, and I think it was who brought up the subject. I think it was didn't Jordan Peterson kind of ask him that question, put him on the spot, maybe, or was it vice versa? I think it was Jordan Peterson that asked him, wasn't it?
Um, I guess they had been talking about um adultery, and Dennis Prager brought up the Jewish view, Orthodox Jewish view, which I'm going to take his word for it. I don't know if it's if all the Jewish people say that. I don't know.
I would probably say that's a good point. I'd probably say no. We uh Dennis Prager brought up what he felt was the what is the Jewish view,
Mhm.
and it may or may not be, but we know for sure it's his view.
Oh right, yeah,
So
and
okay,
he speaks at synagogues, and there's he calls himself an Orthodox Jew. And I've also heard similar things from Ben Shapiro, who also says that he's an Orthodox Jew. So maybe it's not the view, but it seems like
yeah.
it.
Well, the I think it would be there's probably some uh Jewish people that would disagree with him, um but okay, let's start with or let me ask you a question. I mean, obviously, um we have liked the fact that Dennis Prager and Jordan Peterson have been fighting on behalf of the culture
Hmm.
and generally on the right side on most things, and bring a lot of weight and a lot of what would you say intellectual gravitas to those
Right,
discussions. But it must always be remembered. Obviously, first of all, we're all human,
right,
but secondly, neither of them are Christian, and Jordan Peterson is probably much closer to being a Christian than Dennis is. But um, so, but this is not the first time that Dennis has stepped into it.
right.
There's one other time that is, I mean, it's all in the same vein of sexual morality, but with his friend Dave Rubin and his applauding the surrogate children of between David and his husband David. They're both named David. Um, so anyway,
Well,
so we're
yeah,
not.
yeah. Well, that one's a little more difficult for me to understand because if he's all about behavior, he should have a problem with the things going on in that area
Yeah,
of
I
life.
think Leviticus is pretty clear on unnatural sexual acts. I think.
Right, but maybe he goes to the the idea that I've heard many times. The 7 Noahide laws, which I don't know if that's included, but God did judge them in Sodom, so in Gomorrah, which maybe that's not the only sin, but I'm just saying it. It seems odd that that would be that
Well,
wouldn't be
and
included because they weren't what would it be? They weren't part of the promise. Oh goodness, I'm sorry, I'm getting confused. That was something that happened after Noah. That I'll just say
right.
that.
I was just going to say, and Noah also. The flood came because of sexual immorality.
Is that
Uh,
state? Yeah, that is stated. Sorry, keep going.
yeah, yeah, and so um, I kind of find it interesting um, that this is a big issue. It's one of the biggest issues when our nation decided to turn its back on God, and then everything else will start to fall from there. And this didn't just happen when this person got in office or that person got in office. It's been happening a long time, slowly but surely, where tearing apart the foundation of our country. And so, but so obviously, rejecting God is the biggest destroyer of our country.
Yeah.
So one of the pillars of the destruction is feminism, and one of them is pornography,
Oh, absolutely.
and pornography and feminism and abortion kind of all go together, but abortion and pornography actually probably derives from feminism. But um, but in any case, these are really serious things. So, for example, if Dennis Prager and Jordan Peterson were talking about, well, they think alcohol should be available to those 16 years of age or older, we'd go like, okay, that's kind of
Right.
maybe a dumb idea. Dumb idea. That's going to be kind of destructive. I'm not sure that's good. This is like one of the heart of the matter
Oh,
things.
absolutely. That's what made me really surprised. Almost. Maybe I shouldn't have been as surprised, but I'm like, he knows the things of feminism and the ideologies that have plagued humanity in recent years.
Yeah, I'm surprised too a little bit. You know,
Right, but you know, because first of all, we talked about how um, we're not only behaviorists, we're also internalists when it comes to what needs to change. And then the other thing is, like you said, it is kind of an action. Pornography is of intentionally looking at certain things, and so that made it even more confusing because I'm like, he doesn't have to say that pornography isn't a behavior. He's choosing to say this for some reason. That's really confusing to me. And also, like I said ideology. That's another thing that I'm confused about. These things are ideologies, meaning
mhm.
that they're not only a physical behavior phenomenon. These things are infecting people in the mind.
Right,
So it's like there's no way that we can separate the intention from the action in many ways. And I made a bunch of notes about this. I mean, like we go to Genesis, and it says, "The Lord saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every intention of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually." I thought God didn't care about the intention
right,
behind the individuals. And
right.
then in Exodus 4:21 it says, um, "I will harden his heart." This is about Pharaoh. he's changing, he's hardening Pharaoh's heart. He's not hardening his actions. That's not what it says. It's like, I don't see how you can possibly separate these things. And then another verse that I looked at was that in Exodus 28:29, talking about the breastpiece of judgment. So Aaron shall bear the names of the sons of Israel in the breastpiece of judgment on his heart when he goes into the holy place, to bring them to regular remembrance before the Lord. So the only reason why I put this one is here is because this reiterates again that there's something that matters in the heart, even in this situation. And then Deuteronomy 8:1-2. I'm not going to go through all this, but I'm just wanting to reiterate the point. Even in the Torah, it seems like it's indicated that the heart matters. Deuteronomy 8:1-2. The whole commandment that I command you today, you shall be careful to do, that you may live and multiply and go in and possess the land that the Lord swore to give to your fathers. And you shall remember the whole way that the Lord your God has led you these 40 years in the wilderness, that he might humble you, testing you to know what was in your heart, whether you would keep his commandments or not. So behavior does matter, because he was testing them to know what was in their heart by their actions. But it's about the heart.
Yeah. So let's be clear that I did see a small clip, and it's kind of like what I expected as far as they weren't flippant. They weren't being jovial about this. They were trying to be nuanced and bring, sometimes,
thoughts.
The real intellectual guys kind of miss the whole point sometimes. But they weren't being flippant about it. They were being serious about it.
Right.
But it's interesting. When Jesus came, and he kind of challenged the Jewish people, and especially the leaders, by not doing the weightier things of the law.
Right.
And so it almost seems to me if Dennis Prager, as a Jew, he's kind of fallen into the same thing that the Sadducees and Pharisees did. Well, we've checked the boxes. We've been circumcised. We wash our hands. And we believe that there's a God, and those are all important things, right?
Right. Well, speaking of the circumcision, I just want to point out this verse. This isn't just something that Jesus brought up.
Mm-hmm.
Deuteronomy 10:16. Circumcise therefore the foreskin of your heart, and be no longer stubborn. So, they said, "Oh, we checked the box of circumcision." Do you not know what the scripture literally says about it? It's like, circumcise the foreskin of your heart, not simply circumcise your flesh. It's like, it seems odd to me that, but I don't know how they can maintain that belief based on their own scriptures.
Right. Well, and so that's why I say, I don't think the law does permit that.
Permit what?
Lust.
Right.
Nor does it encourage it. In fact, the Ten Commandments has, it says, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, and thou shalt not commit adultery.
That's a good point. The coveting part.
Yeah.
Is coveting an act?
It's a desire. It's lust.
Exactly. That's really interesting.
So coveting and adultery were separate. They're not the same thing.
Right.
Coveting not repented will lead to adultery, but both of them are a commandment to not do. Do not cover thy neighbor's wife. Just like it says, do not cover thy neighbor's goods. Covet.
Yeah.
Thy neighbor's goods. And thou shalt not steal. So
It
someone
covers
can come
both
along.
sides of it.
Yeah, someone can come along and say, "Well, I don't steal." Yeah, but you are just full of envy and jealousy over your neighbor's goods. You
Hmm.
know, you're lusting for your neighbor's goods. According to Old Testament, according to Jewish law and New Law, the law of grace, that would be a sin,
Hmm.
right? And
Yeah.
so, and then like, it's so interesting that you brought up the, circumcise your heart. Now, many times God set, many times the Old Testament sets up the New Testament. It's like, the purpose of circumcision, um, it was a outward sign with no grace involved. There's no grace involved. There was obedience. You had a mark on your flesh, and so you're Hebrew. You know, no grace was added to you, but it was a sign, and it was an important thing. We're not going to talk about faith today, I suppose, but in Abraham, the Abrahamic covenant.
Sounds like
But
we're talking about it. I'm just kidding.
yeah, but we go into in the new covenant, um, you know, actually the circumcision of the heart does occur in baptism, um, where the sins are washed away and grace is infused into the heart of man. And so it's interesting that God was saying that that was available to the Old Testament people as well, not through the sacrament of baptism, but through faith, like Abraham. So I mean, it didn't. In the Old Testament, it didn't really call anyone justified, but they would be called righteous.
Right.
You
Well,
know.
isn't that the same word?
Well, yes and no,
Maybe not in
but
Hebrew. I don't know.
yeah. Well, they're very close, but I mean, there are times that they're interchangeable. And then there's other strange thing that Enoch was found to be pleasing to God.
Hmm.
You know, there are so many other times that so and so was found perfect before the Lord. Wait a minute. What do you mean perfect? How can they be? How can they be? Christ hasn't even died yet. Um,
Right.
God's grace came in abundance because of Christ, but God was working in the world and in people before then. So, anyway, so coming back to Dennis Prager, he can't fall back on it and say that, well, this is not really a sin, or this is not disallowed in Judaism, because I don't see that. Do you?
No, that's the problem for me. What Judaism is he talking about? Because first of all, he's a scholar on this. He knows the Hebrew language, and so I'm confused. I mean, is he gonna say if he heard this argument that we're making? Is he gonna say, well, the Hebrew doesn't mean that? Is that what he's gonna say?
Mm-hmm.
Because even though I don't know Hebrew, the resource I'm using has scholars that know Hebrew that made this entire what would it be database of understanding Hebrew. Scholars, just so many scholars, and so it can tell me what it can mean in the language.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my question. That seems like the only thing that makes sense to me is that he would have to say, well, the Hebrew doesn't mean that, because
Mm-hmm.
it looks like it does. And maybe part of his message was to Gentiles. Maybe he thinks that he can't um, have that lust, but no, that doesn't apply. No. No, yeah. That doesn't make any sense. Because he
No.
specifically refers to Jewish law. So, I'm really perplexed about this because
Well.
it did not take me long to find these. I went from Genesis, multiple things in Genesis,
Mm-hmm.
multiple things in Exodus, multiple
Mm-hmm.
things in Deuteronomy. So I'm just like, in my mind, I'm so confused.
Well, so I don't know. I don't know if this is going to be a bump in the road where, or if it's something that's going to build and require him to um,
Reconsider?
clarify,
Oh, clarify. Yeah.
or I'm not sure that he can retreat based on what he said, other than to just say he was wrong.
Right.
Um, and so I don't. My gut feeling is that the conservative movement, sometimes one of their weaknesses is that they're so desperate to win that they'll take a really, you know, some really great players and warriors and sacrifice some things that they think that they can deal with. Okay, they're not very good at this, but man, they're a great warrior, so we're going to keep them. But uh, this is the kind of thing. Um, this issue is very foundational. It's long term. What
Mm-hmm.
I mean is that it will bring decay, and it doesn't get it gets better and better. It degrades. It gets worse
Right.
and worse and worse. And so, but in reality, it doesn't surprise me because of his utter enjoyment and, oh, what would I say, commending and glorying in his friend Dave Rubin's gay relationship with, and then the two surrogated children that
Yeah.
they had. Uh, if he accepts that, and he did, then you're promoting it,
Mm-hmm.
and it's so abhorrent. Pornography seems like just a little thing compared to that. I mean, it's the same thing,
Right.
but but that inconsistency, it's like, oh, so then inconsistency does matter.
Yeah. Well, and then the other thing about pornography is, have you seen what it does to people? It destroys people. Um, Even people that had no problems with sexual perversion. Recently, this has happened it's to some very well known people, where it seemed like something happened to them, not because they had an original problem. People that seem to have no problems whatsoever, all of a sudden making life changing decisions based on something that just doesn't make sense. I think a lot of that has to do with the perversion of pornography and the deep well of depravity that's found there. And so I don't know of any person that has not been negatively affected when they looked at pornography. I don't know of anyone.
Right.
So it's not only about the relationships. It can't only be about, does it affect the relationships. It affects the person that does it, no matter what.
Yeah, it affects everything. And the whole thing is that, okay, so I think one of their arguments, they were talking about that men, and they were only talking about men, and that's, I guess, reasonable because they're both men, and so they, avoided any issues with the woman. But they were saying that men like variety. It's like, okay, yeah, that's true, but we're not animals,
Yeah,
and
right.
so we will make mistakes. We learn. That's why we develop virtues and resist vice. And we're not born perfect, and so we're going to make mistakes. But you can't, once they say that it's some benefit to married people, or that it's not a sin, you've stamped it as okay.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean,
Okay,
that's indicated to
you've
people that listen to Dennis Prager that they're fine if it doesn't affect our relationships. Which I'll just say, people aren't good at judging that.
Yeah, it's
Anyway,
we are.
even if he's right, I don't think he's right. I mean, we've already
No.
identified that. But let's say that he was right. How can somebody, okay, people have trouble figuring out what things affect their relationships. So you're putting a lot of faith in the fact that, in the idea that they could know what affects their relationships or not.
Well, we can. It's almost impossible to say. Let's just say they're right. It's almost impossible. It's just like, okay, that would be like asking murder. Okay,
Well, it
I'm
is
not
impossible
really,
to say that it's right.
yeah, it's impossible to say it's right. It's not even possible.
Right.
From a Christian perspective, right? From a Christian perspective.
Well, I have to ask you,
And
I'm wondering something.
yeah,
Do you think it might be good to... Okay, so on the Fireside Chat, he answers questions. Do you think it would maybe be helpful to ask him for more clarification by sending him a question?
sure.
Okay.
Sure. I feel bad for him. There's only one way out of this. And that's the truth.
Mm-hmm.
Right? To and to adhere to the truth. And so maybe he will. Maybe he will go like, yeah, I made a mistake there. That is wrong.
Yeah.
But then the next person on the next episode, okay, good. I see he did that about pornography. What about your friend Dave? Are you going to condemn that? And so if I'm a betting man, and I am, but I have no money, so I don't bet. But if I'm a betting man, I would strongly suggest, or I would strongly put my money on the fact that he is not going to retract.
Right. Well, I really wonder what he would say about these verses, though.
He can't. I don't think he could retract unless he retract fully. Any what do I say? Any acceptance of feminism at all? Any acceptance of the homosexual agenda? If he's not willing to do that, he's not going to retract on this. This is just as bad as those other things.
Mm-hmm.
But if we were going to say, okay, someone's watching pornography, or pornography is legal, and someone's, we think that's terrible, horrendous. That's a major problem. But mutilating children and giving them hormone blockers is, even if you can imagine, even worse.
Well, what do you mean by even worse? Because
what I mean is it's and that's why I'm saying I'm being careful about even worse.
Well, yeah, the only reason why I say that is because
it's really affecting people that didn't invite it in.
Right. Yeah, sure.
It wasn't the children's choice in grade school to think that, yeah, maybe I can be a rhinoceros. Maybe I can be a girl, even though I'm a boy. That didn't just occur to them.
Right.
Okay, that was forced and sold onto them. Whereas you and I and everyone out there, we make choices that we made our choice. No one forced it on us. And we learn and we repent from it.
Are you speaking of pornography?
It can, yes, but
because there are some people that when they were 10 years old, they found it and it became really difficult for them to escape.
No, I know. But
sorry, I don't need to go into all that. Keep going.
I'm just saying that I want to end both. Okay, I want to end the porn publishers' right to be in business, but I want to go after the doctors,
right,
and the school teachers and school administrators that push transgenders on kids, even more so.
Right.
But I want to go against all of them.
Right. Sure. I mean, like that's one thing that I think would really help society. Get rid of pornography. Nobody needs it. Not even people that are over 18. If you can, okay, at least make it almost impossible for any kid to get it. At
It
least.
violate
At
it
least.
violates yeah, it violates the natural law.
Right,
So
absolutely.
some people will say, well, you can't outlaw um, pornography because that's just a freedom, that's a free choice. It's like it violates the natural law. Now, it doesn't violate the natural law of the guess what?
What?
Cheetah.
Well, I'll just say about the pornography thing is, okay, we're not going to go track down people that have seen pornography. That's not going to
No,
be possible. But if you
we want to make it
eliminate
illegal.
any distribution of it, and make it illegal, some people will get their hands on it here and there, but it's just get rid of access for it. There's
Yes.
no, it's all exploitative. All pornography is exploitative. No matter who you say consented or whatever, it's all exploitative. It's exploiting their bodies to make a profit,
Right.
whether or not they decided to do it or not. There's no right in that. There's no reason for that. And
Well,
so it's not only not a right that we should have, it's also uh, it's also hurtful to the people that do it. So it's like, where are we lose? Where this is a win-win situation if we get rid of it. There's
mhm.
nothing. I don't see any negative consequence of getting rid of pornography.
No, there is none. Okay, so was there pornography when Moses wrote the Ten Commandments? No,
Sure. No.
right? And so,
Well, yeah,
so
no,
this
not
way,
not like
not
not like
in
today.
not in the way we understand it. But lust was present. So even if we're not saying, and the Christian cannot be saying, well, if we get rid of pornography, lust will be eliminated. It's like, no,
Right.
still going to be there. Okay. But that's kind of like, well, we're getting rid of a little murder. What do you mean you're getting rid of a little murder? Well, we're okay with a little murder. Well, what happens if you do something that makes murder legal and promotes it? Wouldn't that be bad? Yeah. We're never going to, that's why attacking guns is not, doesn't work. And that's why that argument does not apply as a similarity or analogically with the pornography thing. Guns are a useful tool.
Yes.
The existence of guns actually support the natural law for defense and self-preservation and for hunting and feeding, right?
Right. Really,
Uh,
pornography does none of that.
none of that. It destroys. And so, and basically, I mean, it does a lot of things, but I think C.S. Lewis so paints it so well when talking animals in Narnia start to fall in sin and become proud or whatever, they become less and less like talking animals and more like wild beasts.
Right.
And that's what that's what pornography does. It makes a man less of a man, makes him more like a beast, man or woman, more like a beast.
Yeah, well, it numbs
And
that part of humanity that makes us unique, which is
mhm.
intellect and will. That completely.
To seek the good, the
Right.
true, and the beautiful. Right.
Right. And that's the thing is, pornography ends up controlling the will and controlling or numbing the intellect, where we don't think logically about things. And so that's really what separates us. I've never heard really any other good um, separation arguments of like what makes a human more of a human versus like the other animals. Um, so with that, oh sorry, I'm not trying to get confusing. Okay, that's the thing that separates us from the animals, intellect and
Hmm.
will. And so when we succumb to our appetites, that starts to overtake those two things that make us unique to the animals. And so
Hmm.
when you do that, we make ourselves less like a man and more like the beasts. And that's actually
Hmm.
kind of what Aristotle also talks about is, you know, there are certain things that are natural to animals that aren't that shouldn't be natural to humans. Um, we don't blame a animal ha- um for certain things, whereas we do blame humans who do those same acts. Okay, let me just say, we don't blame a dog for killing another dog, um, but we do blame a human that kills another human, and we call that unacceptable. And you have to ask, why is that? It's not because of
Yeah,
feeling.
yeah.
So I that kind of got confusing, but that's
No, 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 no. That's fine. And then, so I mean, bottom line, our dear Dennis Prager is just simply wrong. And the question is going to be: is this going to fester, or is he going to recant,
right.
or are they going to put, or is it just going to be people are going to move on? If I was going to guess, I'm going to say people are going to move on. They moved on quite easily over the Dave Rubin and his husband David and their two surrogate
Right.
children. They moved on from that without even hardly a whisper. And so
There were people that
I
talked
don't.
about this situation, but nobody's making more videos about it.
Yeah. Well, and so it's important to remember that our side is not always. We got to be careful who we look up to, and it does break our heart that for uh, Jordan Peterson we pray for and appreciate. He's been long boating his conversion for like 10 years, and we hope and we anticipate at some point he's going to go, like, because he said
Right.
everything. I mean, there's nothing you could tell him of why he should become a Christian. There's nothing you could tell him that he doesn't already hasn't already heard.
Right. It's whether or
And
not he's going to accept that or go that
yeah,
direction.
are you going to pull the trigger? So, but anyway, so we got to be careful who we think of our heroes, and we need to be aware that, okay, if somebody makes a, a mistake like this,
There's
then
something more.
there's a lot of possibility for other problems.
Right.
Even when you're supporting the good things, it's kind of called the iceberg scenario. It's like you see this iceberg coming and it's huge, you think. It's like you have no idea how big it is. Under the water, which you can't see, is, many times larger than what you can.
Right. It's
And
it's the tip of the iceberg.
yeah, that's it's hidden. And so it concerns me. So are we going to support and hold up principles that benefit us economically and as a country as the highest good? Or doesn't morality matter?
Right.
Because if those are your highest good, uh, you know, financial stability and you're being a sovereign country, if that's your highest good, anything will sacrifice for that highest
Hmm.
good, including morality, goodness, truth, beauty. Whereas if like a lot, the saying, you've heard the saying that hey, when it comes to elections and politics, hey, it's the economy, stupid. It's like, no, you're stupid. The economy is important, but truth is, and goodness and holiness is the deal.
Well, yeah. I
And
mean,
any
oh, sorry.
no, and an economy will follow that.
Right. Well, it's like the statement. If you sacrifice Oh goodness, what is it again?
If you sacrifice freedom for safety,
You'll get neither freedom nor safety. And
in the end, yeah.
in the end, so that's very similar. If you sacrifice morality for economic stability, you'll get neither economic stability nor morality. That's what
Right.
we've seen played out multiple times.
Yeah.
That's we've seen the Republican Party fail in so many ways, and we failed in both ways. And
Yeah.
with our ability, with our economic stability and our morality, and that's where people need to wake up. They need to be like, it's more important to go with the morality, and then be like, well, if we go for the morality, we'll also get good economic policy as well, because that
Right.
follows morality and principles, of foundational principles. A sovereign nation doesn't make any sense if you don't have a reason for it. Like,
Hmm.
why do we want a sovereign nation? And these go to
Right.
principles beyond economics and
Right. They
just
go to first
right,
principles.
right.
So,
Politics comes after uh, culture, which comes after religion.
mhm. Yeah, it's downstream. Um, I think politics is downstream from ethics or something. Yeah, it's supposed to be.
Hmm. Right, and what shapes your
And
ethics is is
is
religion.
your anthropology, your metaphysics, your philosophy, your
Oh yeah, I
but
guess I kind
anyway,
of simplified it.
no, that's fine. Your epistemology, yeah, ethics, politics follows all those things, and so, but anyway, I don't know how we're doing on time, but
We're at 52 minutes.
yeah, so I don't know it's pornography is one of the main pillars that are destroying. It's one of the main things that are destroying our country. And if you look back in history, usually it's sexual perversity that if it's not the thing destroying it,
Right.
it is the disease that makes the cancer known. It's the effect
Well, and
of
also
a
say
deeper cancer
that's the main sin that's continually, um,
destroying countries and nations.
yeah, but it's also the one that is continually in history being punished by God. Sodom and Gomorrah, before before
Flood.
the flood. Um, those are the main examples because I mean obviously it was a lot of sin and problems that made God destroy all of humanity at the
Mm-hmm.
flood. So that's clearly a big problem. And then also the, these are ones that we see God's hand specifically strike those nations. Maybe Egypt is a little different, but what I
Mm-hmm.
mean, but like, yeah, it's a big deal.
Yeah, this is a big deal, and but I just watched last night a real interesting conversion story of someone going from atheism to New Age to Christianity, um, and a young guy, really smart guy, and he went through a lot of stuff. But one of the key things that got him out of and helped him come to Christ was Jordan Peterson.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Cool.
His 12 steps of or
12 rules for life.
his 12 rules for life and other things. Um and so he has a great and positive effect on a lot of people, as
Right.
does Dennis Prager. But this kind of thing kind of can bring it all down real quickly,
Yep. Well,
so
I still have a certain amount of respect for Dennis Prager. I still listen to his podcast thing. It's not a complete. Um, his views aren't complete, but this really made me really wary of what I take from Dennis Prager.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we can't go into what they call purity spirals. What that is like we are all striving to be just, to be virtuous, and to follow after God to the best we can, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we're not perfect. And so if I'm doing a lot of things right and something I'm doing wrong, yeah, point out what I'm doing wrong, okay. But don't just like, oh, you did that and then cast me aside. It's like, because maybe I'm doing a lot of good things and maybe you can work on that little thing that I have, you know? And we're saying that this is not a little thing, but
Right.
I'm saying that, you know, it's just something to take notice. It's like, because we feel like Dennis Prager is a great man and has done a lot of great good. And definitely same with Jordan Peterson. So,
Yeah.
but we need to take notice.
Thank you guys for listening.
All right. Hey, have a nice day, Pinchy.
You as well.
Godspeed.
Have a good week.